heard 12 what I would call non-owl-like sounds, but it sounded very human-like. And the 13th one came from the left of that tent. The other came from the right. And it was funny because we could hear it walking off in the distance, heading off into the trees over here. Let's zoom out. So it's back out into these trees here. So off he went, giving off these little owl sounds, and they were constant. And the funny thing was, it was no more taller. We both think it was maybe, I don't know, like this, whatever the height was of it, it was hooting as it walked away. And it wasn't like gaining altitude like an owl would get. It wasn't high at all. It was like almost like our height, like somewhere in the 5 foot, maybe 6-7 foot range. And it was really strange on how it'd walk off into the wilderness, just hooting and making this woo, 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 woo sound. And as he walked away, the other one didn't do all the sound calling, but he just did the one hoot that was just on the opposite side of the tent.
And the whole time he was taking these, he has these pool balls, and he would smack them together. Now, if you take two pool balls and you smack them together, they sound like rocks, and they sound just like rock clacking. So Brian's doing this rock clack. Every so often, he's doing these rock clacks, right? One here, one there, one here, one there. In the morning, after or before he went to sleep, when he got up, he was still doing rock clacking. It was really kind of strange. So that night, we were talking for a little while outside, and everything was going dark. We saw some crazy eye shine. Like eye shine was looking up at us about where we were cooking. And at first, Brian was like, are those car lights? And in the distance, we could see car lights. We could see them from 285. And I was like, I don't know. I said, the one's way out there there's no roads right here, dude. That's eye shine. And he goes, are you serious? I said, yeah, that's eye shine. And we were pointing it out, right? Because the ground where we were at the upper half, and the ground goes down. And so the battery on this will run for 2.5 hours. If I would have had the little clamps, I could have clamped this to branches and let it run for 2.5 hours. Down. It goes down into like a little, like a low grade slope. And there were things walking up, and they were looking at us. Like they would stop and look at us. And I was like, that's a Sasquatch. And he's like, are you serious? I went, yeah, he's right there. That night, I do a little bit of filming, and I'm going to show that film right now. Yeah. I'm seeing light anomalies below the ridge here, like right along the lines. It seems like something's lighting them up.
Do you like the camera or just naked?
No, I just naked eye. I got my video camera on it to see if it's going to pick it up. After that video was done, we ended up, we were talking for a little while outside. We can see them. You can see the eyes, and then you would see another set of eyes kind of peek out and go back. And I said they're walking single file like they should. That's what they always do. And I said that's like a couple of them right there. And he's like, oh my god. So we watched it for a little while until the eye shine kind of faded off. We didn't know where it went. Like they closed their eyes and wandered off. So we go back to the tent. Brian's laying down and he goes, I slept all day. I will be up all night. And I said, great. You'll be up. That'll be perfect. So I turned on a recorder. I put the recorder down. And it was maybe an hour after we went back in there, we were just talking. And he said, yeah, I feel awake. I'm good. We start to hear what sounds like sand hitting the tent and trickling down. And Brian was like, what was that? I said, I don't know. So we looked up, and the moon was kind of like being blocked off by the clouds, and a little bit of moonlight was coming in, and you could see something hit the tent and trickle all the way down. And I was like, what the hell? I said, dude, that looks like sand. And he's like, are you serious? I went, yeah. I said, Trent and I and Jim and Mike were on a camping trip, and both Trent and I heard sand hitting the tent. It was like they wanted somebody to go to sleep. I think Jim was the first person to go to sleep on that trip. But both Trent and I were like, what is that? That is just strange. And they kept throwing sand. So next thing I know, I hear, and I look over at Brian, and I'm like, dude, wake up. And I woke him up. And he's like, was I asleep? I said, yes. And he goes, what's going on? And I said, I don't know. And then we heard all the way down. And Brian, well, next thing I know, I was like, what the? So I woke him up again. I said, Brian. And he's like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I just can't stay awake now. Then I heard, and he's snoring again. Brian and I joked about this. I said it was like every time the sand hit the tent, you fell asleep. And Brian said, you mean it's like sleeping sands? I went, yes. And he was like, that's not right. That's not right, Patrick. That's not right at all. I said, no, but you fell asleep. It was like that. You were asleep. But then I started to hear rock clacking. Coming straight down, straight down from my side of the tent. But the thing is, there was a lot that was coming in, because now I heard. So they may have been coming in single file, but at some point they broke off of that, and some went down onto the road, and it followed up and around, and they went over by the car, and they were just rock clacking. Man, they were just going to town. They were rock clacking all back behind the trees, or rock clacking around. They surrounded us. And I was like, Brian. And I woke him up. I said, Brian, you got to wake up. Brian woke up and he goes, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I said, Brian, listen. Just listen to see what's going on. And he's like, dude, is that rock clacking? I went, yeah, I think they grabbed one of your balls and they're rock clacking. Oh my God. And he was like, that's really pretty cool. I said, it is, isn't it? Yeah. I turned around for like 2 seconds and he's back snoring. I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, I was being bombarded by sounds of rock clacking going on like crazy. My recorder didn't catch any of it. Didn't catch one stinking sound of it. It turned off before all that rock clacking was happening. Next morning, we get up. Now I listened to that sucker for 4 hours. Easily 4 hours. Brian gets up and goes, I don't know why I did that. I just don't know. I was like, it's all right, don't worry about it. I experienced it. You experienced for a split second. And he goes, I did hear it. And I said, I know. So he goes over and we made breakfast and we're getting ready to tear down stuff. And so I'm standing by him and he's talking to his girlfriend on the phone. And I turn around and I froze. I was like, oh my God. I said, Brian, you need to turn around. And he's like, I said, Brian, you should turn around. He goes, I'm on the phone. Turn around, Brian. What he doesn't know is that there's 2 Sasquatches looking at us. One tall one, one short one. And they're staring me down. And I give them my greet. And they reciprocated the greet. And I said, okay, so they know I'm okay. I'm not a threat to them. I was like, Brian, you need to turn around. And he's like, I'm on the phone. Brian, you need to turn around. I'm on the phone. I said, Brian. And he's like, I'm on the phone. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, all right, fine. I sat and watched. And they turned. And they walked back into the woods. And he finally got done. And he goes, what? And I said, we had 2 Sasquatches standing back behind us about 15 feet. You're lying. I said, come on. We walked over to where the curve of the road was. And I said, look down there. And he went, you mean I missed it? I went, yep. If I tell you to turn around, you got to turn around. And he's like, oh. And he had lots of words right there. He had lots of words. And he had the opportunity of turning around and seeing 2 Sasquatches before he passed away. But he was on the phone talking to his girl. Oh my God. So we ended up packing up everything, putting it back into his truck, drove all the way back down to Denver. and we connected up. I don't remember where we connected up because I had to get my car, but that was the end of that trip. He got to hear rock clacking. He got to experience a hooting of an owl or a hooting of a Sasquatch, but he missed out on seeing 2 Sasquatches that night. And we would never have gone up to that spot if it wasn't for Charlie Raymond. So that's the end of this story. I will figure out something to talk about next week. Actually, this is going out on, this is Sundays. So I'll have something new on Wednesday. I hope you guys are all having a good day. Hope you're enjoying the journey. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. Found at a location that Brian and I found. Goes all the way around the tree. The base of this dead aspen goes all the way up. Kind of groovy.